We control everything. We control what's hot. We control what your kids listen to. We control what's in video games.
I'm going to take your souls. We have the power. We decide what's hot. If we don't go, nobody goes. If we don't support, nobody supports. We control what's cool. We control what's hot. We control what your kids listen to, what they dance to. We control what's in video games. We control how they wear their pants, sag their pants. We control everything.
Ellen already knew about those parties. She said it right there on camera. And she'd been inviting him back to her stage over and over for almost 2 decades.
So tell me about your birthday party. Am I invited?
Yes. Yes, you're definitely invited. I invite you to all my parties. You just haven't seemed to show up to
No, well, is it on the East Coast?
Yes.
Well, that's why. Why don't you have one here on the West Coast? Because I work all the time.
Okay, well, maybe I have one at your house.
Where's that? Now, what time would your party start, let's say?
Like 9:30.
Really? That early?
Yeah.
I could make that.
Yeah.
But I could think of you of starting a party at like midnight. Like, what time will it go till?
That's a different type of party, though.
No,
it'll go from like 9:30 to like maybe 3 o'clock, 3 o'clock. And then, we have the top 2 floors of the hotel.
And then it will carry on there?
Yeah. Then the after party.
No, I know about them.
And she handed those sick kids directly to him. No hesitation, no buffer, like she was placing a delivery. But here's what nobody connected until now. Ellen's fingerprints are all over the same ecosystem that Joe Rogan couldn't unsee once someone pointed it out. And once you see it, you can't look away. Before we go any deeper, you need to understand what we're actually building here. This isn't about one awkward moment or one weird clip. This is about a 20-year pattern of access. Access to young people, access to vulnerable people, access delivered directly by the host of daytime television to a man who would later be convicted of using that exact access for exploitation. Ellen DeGeneres wasn't just booking Diddy on her show, she was introducing him over and over and over again, 17 times between 2006 and 2022. That's not a guest spot rotation, that's a standing relationship. And what we're about to walk through is why that relationship starts to look a lot less like coincidence and a lot more like something calculated. But to understand Ellen's role, you first have to understand who was in her circle, because that's where the real story starts to connect. Joe Rogan doesn't get quiet. He sits across from killers, cult members, and some of the strangest people alive without flinching once. But when his guests started breaking down what people claim is hidden inside Ellen DeGeneres' world, Rogan barely said a word. And once you understand why, you'll understand exactly why we're here. Listen to what he's pointing out. Ellen's set, the backgrounds, the design choices, they resembled spaces documented in the Epstein files. Now, that might sound like a stretch on its own, but Rogan isn't the type to make that comparison lightly. His guests broke it down piece by piece, showing the similarities in real time. And Rogan, a guy who talks for a living, stayed quiet. Because once you see it, you understand immediately why that comparison matters.
Get it.
Oh, well, you know where that is too, right? It's a similar image to that, right?
Now, Ellen's name showing up in proximity to Epstein's circle wasn't random. Her documented friendships with people facing serious allegations, combined with the timing of her leaving the country not long after the investigations ramped up, paint a picture that a lot of people simply can't explain away. But here's where it gets personal, because Ellen wasn't just adjacent to these circles. She was actively moving between them. Jump back to 2014. Ellen is hosting the biggest night in Hollywood. The entire world is watching, and out of nowhere, she makes a completely unscripted decision. She orders pizza for the entire room. Now, on the surface, that's cute, that's relatable, that's Ellen being Ellen. But watch what she does next. She asks Harvey Weinstein and Kevin Spacey to help pay. 2 names, specifically called out in front of the entire world. Years later, both would be exposed for horrific crimes. But on that night, Ellen was laughing and playing it for the cameras like it was all just a fun bit. But here's the detail that changes everything. In the Epstein files, they found code words. Pizza was one of them. And the people in those emails using pizza weren't talking about food. So Ellen orders pizza on the biggest televised night of the year. She specifically asked 2 men who would become 2 of the biggest crime scandals in entertainment history to contribute in front of billions of people. And everyone laughed. That's not an accident. That's a message. Ellen once gave fans a full tour of her home. And what people noticed hanging on those walls sent the internet into a frenzy that never quite stopped.
This demonic, 3-year-old drawings, tons of them. Just imagine a 3-year-old drawing satanic art.
Certain paintings in her house showed symbols that people describe as ritualistic. One hung directly above her head in one clip. Another hung above her own mother in a different video. Now, plenty of celebrities have unusual taste in art. That on its own wouldn't mean much. But then there's the kitchen table comment.
If there's any kind of, not major surgery, but we'll do surgery on this table. I guess the biggest thing we've done really is appendectomy.
Ellen casually mentions that medical procedures were done right there on her dining room table. Not major surgery, but appendectomy. Like it's normal to do surgical procedures at home, in your dining room, in front of cameras. But when you put that comment alongside the art, alongside her proximity to Epstein circles, alongside her behavior on camera, it stops feeling like eccentric celebrity taste and starts feeling like something else entirely. Now we get to the moment that explains why Rogan, a man who talks for a living, went quiet. Ellen had a guest on her show, and she was walking them through a diagram of something that had happened. It was meant to be informational, educational even, but the way she did it was off.
Using it as a pointer.
But why the hell is this happening on like a daytime show where this is...
She grabbed an antenna, literally pulled it off something, and used it as a pointer to walk the guests through the diagram. But it wasn't warm, it wasn't engaging, it was mechanical, cold, almost robotic.
He's using it as a pointer.
But why the hell is this happening on like a daytime show where this is...
Rogan, a guy whose entire job is sitting across from unpredictable people, called that moment creepy on his own show, without anyone pushing him, without any setup. He saw something in that moment that unsettled him enough to bring it up unprompted. And once you watch that clip yourself, you understand why. Because it doesn't look like a daytime TV host moving through a segment. It looks like someone demonstrating control, showing dominance. The way she moves is calculated, precise, like she's performing something rather than explaining something. While all of this was spreading online, the people who actually worked for Ellen in real life were telling their own stories. And those stories painted a very different picture of who she was when the cameras weren't watching. Staff members reported that they were told never to make eye contact with her while walking through hallways. One audience member was pulled aside before a taping and given a single rule: don't be funnier than Ellen. Read that back to yourself. Don't be funnier than Ellen. That's not a request, that's a command. And it reveals something fundamental about how she operated when nobody was watching. A former writer on the show described her as nothing short of a full-blown control freak behind closed doors. And these weren't just a couple of upset employees. This was dozens of people from completely different years, different positions, all describing the exact same behavior. But here's the moment that really broke everything open. Dakota Johnson came on the show one day, and Ellen asked her almost casually why she wasn't invited to Dakota's own birthday party. It was meant to be a gotcha moment, the kind of thing Ellen did all the time: catch a guest in an awkward spot, get some laughs, move on. But Dakota didn't flinch. She looked Ellen dead in the eye and said, "You were invited." Ellen's own producer backed that up live right there on camera. So where was Ellen that night? She was sitting courtside at a football game next to former President George W. Bush without a care in the world. Once staff started speaking out publicly, that old clip resurfaced. And suddenly, that awkward moment on daytime television looked like something completely different. A pattern of playing the victim in public while behaving completely differently behind the scenes. Now we're going to connect these two threads, because this is where Ellen's role shifts from observer to facilitator. Diddy appeared on Ellen's show 17 times. That's not a coincidence. That's an investment. And each appearance, Ellen was doing something very specific. She was normalizing him, rebranding him, making him safe. She laughed at his jokes about control. She confirmed she knew about his parties. She kept inviting him back. But in one appearance, something slipped. Diddy said something that should have stopped everyone cold, but instead, the audience just laughed along.
We're gonna take your souls. We have the power. We decide what's hot. If we don't go, nobody goes. If we don't support, nobody supports. We control what's cool. We control what's hot. We control what your kids listen to, what they dance to. We control what's in video games. We control how they wear their pants, sag their pants. We control everything.
We control what your kids listen to. We control what they dance to. We control how they wear their pants. We control what's in video games. He's talking about control over youth culture, over young people's minds. And Ellen's audience is laughing, because at that time, nobody connected what he was actually saying to what he would later be convicted of. But Ellen knew about the parties. She said it on camera.
So tell me about your birthday party. Am I invited?
Yes. Yes, you're definitely invited. I invite you to all my parties. You just haven't seemed to show up.
No, well, is it on the East Coast?
Yes.
Well, that's why. Why don't you have one here on the West Coast? Because I work all the time.
Okay, well, maybe I have one at your house.
Where's that?
She asked about his parties. She confirms she already knows they exist. She laughs. And then she keeps inviting him back to her stage. But what happened when Ellen actually introduced Diddy to vulnerable people? Ellen brought a group of young cancer patients from an organization called Fight All Monsters onto her stage. These were sick kids, some of them fighting for their lives. Diddy's music had become their survival anthem. So Ellen, knowing Diddy, knowing his reputation, knowing about his parties, called him out as a surprise. She brought those kids onto that stage, and she put them directly in front of him, no buffer, buffer, no introduction that creates distance. She literally introduced vulnerable, sick children to a man who had documented patterns of accessing young people. Nobody is saying anything happened to those specific kids that day. That part matters, but the setup was already in place. Ellen made sure of that. This wasn't isolated to that one moment. Ellen was moving Diddy between different worlds and different audiences, building his credibility and his access with each appearance. In another clip, Diddy casually talks about adopting a white child. He brings out a young girl and calls her his adopted daughter while the audience laughs.
Eva Baroni Combs, yes, it was breaking news. Diddy adopted a white child.
Ellen is right there, asking him to tell the story. She's leaning in, she's interested, she's making this moment intimate and relatable. And then there's the daughters conversation. Ellen keeps pushing Diddy about why his 15-year-old daughters aren't dating yet. She's asking about their romantic lives. She's probing. And when Diddy confirms that at his age, he was already dating, she just laughs it off. That's not a harmless question. That's Ellen helping create a narrative where a 40-plus-year-old man's interest in young girls' dating lives is normal. It's funny, it's relatable. And when you line that up with the sick kids moment, with the parties she admitted she knew about, with the Epstein connections, with the control she exerted over people in her orbit, suddenly Ellen's role isn't about entertainment anymore. It's about access. In 2009, Justin Bieber was 15 years old. He was new to the industry, he was impressionable, and Diddy spent 48 hours with him. Diddy admitted on camera that they were doing things he couldn't disclose.
We can't really disclose, but it's definitely a 15-year-old.
For the next 48 hours he's with me, we can't really disclose what we're doing, but it's definitely a 15-year-old's dream. That's not transparency. That's a man admitting he did things with a minor that he won't discuss publicly. And how did Justin end up with Diddy? Through Usher, through the industry apparatus that included people like Ellen. Justin himself broke down years later about what he went through in the industry, about not knowing where to turn, about people he trusted turning their backs on him.
It was hard for me being that young and being in the industry and not knowing where to turn, and everyone, telling me they love me and, just turn their back.
And the industry people who facilitated his access, they kept booking him. They kept normalizing him. They kept putting him in front of vulnerable young people. Selena Gomez came on Ellen's show and mentioned something odd. She found a camera hidden in the bathroom, the exact bathroom she had just used. Ellen's response was to laugh it off, to call it a prank. But for just a split second, before the laugh kicked in, Selena and everyone watching saw something cross Ellen's face. A flash of irritation, of being caught. It was just a few seconds. But once you notice it, you can't unsee it, because it fits. It all fits. Ellen's need to control who was funnier, her obsession with guests' personal lives, her willingness to probe young girls about dating, her comfort facilitating access between powerful men and vulnerable people. It's all the same thread. In one of the most chilling details of this whole story, Ellen posted a birthday message to Diddy. She called him Cuddle Mix Snuggles and told her followers they didn't need to know why. Read that back to yourself. Cuddle Mix Snuggles. You don't need to know why. That's not the language you use about someone you just book for ratings a few times a year. That's an inside joke. That's two people who share something the rest of us weren't supposed to know about. And she said it publicly, out loud, for everyone to see, because she knew nobody would question it. In 2023, the film Sound of Freedom became one of the most talked about movies of the year. Celebrities posted about it. They used their platforms. They spoke out against Ellen said nothing, not a post, not a word, not even a mention. The woman who brought cancer kids out as surprises, the woman who questioned 15-year-olds about dating, the woman who knew about Diddy's parties, the woman who was connected to Epstein circles. When a film came out that directly addressed exactly what we're talking about, human exploitation of young people, she stayed completely silent. And that silence might be the loudest part of this entire story. So here's what we're actually looking at. Ellen DeGeneres wasn't just a talk show host who booked celebrities. She was a connector. She was someone who moved between the Diddy world, the Epstein circles, and the entertainment industry at large. She normalized Diddy. She confirmed she knew about his parties. She actively placed vulnerable young people, cancer patients, young girls, industry newcomers, directly in his orbit. She surrounded herself with people who witnessed this and went along with it. She used her platform to ask inappropriate questions about young girls' dating lives. She violated guest privacy without hesitation. She demanded control over everyone around her. Hat spoke directly to the exact issues her actions facilitated. She said nothing. Joe Rogan went quiet when he understood Ellen's role because he wasn't just looking at a talk show host anymore. He was looking at a facilitator, someone who created access, someone who broke down resistance, someone who helped move vulnerable people into the orbits of powerful men with documented histories of exploitation. The two transcripts in this story, the Diddy appearances and the Epstein connections, aren't separate. They're the same story told from two different angles. And Ellen is the thread that connects them all. This isn't speculation. This is her own words, her own actions, her own choices, all laid out and connected. And once you see it, you can't unsee it.